Late at night on a highway in northern Ontario, a woman driving her car is relieved to finally find a gas station that's still open, so she pulls in. The attendant comes out and walks up to the driver's side. He stands there, waiting until she rolls down her window. She slips it down just a crack. "How much?" he asks. She tells him to fill it up. The attendant walks towards the back of the car and stands there a minute. The woman waits, then looks into the side view mirror. The attendant is just standing there, facing her. She's feeling pretty nervous, wondering why he's not pumping gas. Then he walks back up to the window and taps on it. "You need to open the flap, ma'am." Feeling stupid, the woman reaches down and clicks the gas flap open. The attendant walks back and starts pumping the gas. A minute or so later, he finishes and clicks the nozzle back into place on the pump. Then he stands there for a moment. The woman keeps looking at him in the side view mirror, feeling quite ill at ease. She doesn't like this, being alone at a tiny gas station in the middle of nowhere with only this stranger. The attendant then walks back up to the window and taps on it. She reaches into her purse and takes out her credit card, rolls open the window just a crack again, and as she passes the card through, looks up at the attendant. He's staring down at her with wide, frightful eyes. She looks away quickly, really creeped out, and she rolls the window back up as soon as the attendant grasps the card. But he doesn't go to the cash booth, he just stands there a moment. The woman can't bear to look at him again. Finally he says, with a voice muffled through the closed window, "Ma'am, there's a problem with your card. Could you please step inside the cash booth?" "What's wrong with the card?" she asks loudly, with a definite strain in her voice. "Something's wrong with the barcode. I'll need you to come over to the cash so we can make a call to the company." There's no way she is getting outside her car on an empty, dark highway late at night, with only that weirdo around. Besides, she realizes as a sudden chill overcomes her, how could he know if there was a problem with the barcode if he hadn't even been to the cash desk to swipe it? The woman's breathing suddenly increases as she feels panic creep upon her. She summons up a note of restraint in her voice. "Please, can you just call them yourself?" "Sorry, but I'll need to see some ID. Could you please just step over to the booth? It'll only take a minute." Realizing he won't let it be, she whispers a prayer and reaches into her purse to check for cash. Yes, she has a $50 bill. Clutching it in her hand, she unrolls the window just a crack yet again and passes it through. "Never mind, I'll just pay cash." "Ma'am, are you sure?" he asks. "What?" she almost yells as she accidentally looks up at him again. The same wide, fearful eyes staring down at her. She looks away. "Yes, cash. I can fix the card problem. You just need to come over to the phone with me," he says. She's really terrified now and half screams at the man. "Listen, asshole, it's cash. That's all you're getting from me." All right, he responds. "Now you just wait right here and I'll go get your change. Don't move. I'll be right back." She can see him out of her peripheral vision, walking backwards towards the booth, always facing her. She can't bear to look his way. She can't imagine what he has in the booth. What if he brings it back with him? F the change, she thinks, just as she realizes he also still has her credit card. She can't take this anymore. F the card. I'll cancel it. She starts up the car, and as soon as it hums to life, she tears away and off into the dark night. The attendant is in his booth on the phone, breathing heavily. An official-sounding voice on the other end asks, "Did you tell her?" "No," the attendant responds. "I couldn't." "Why not?" "He had a knife and a finger to his lips. I tried to get her out of there, but the whole time he was watching me from the floor behind her seat." My friend's dad used to haul shopping carts from Western Washington to Eastern Washington for repair, then bring repaired ones back. He did this driving a semi with trailer. One summer, my friend rode with him and told me about what happened on a stretch of rural highway. They're on the road, and my buddy is starting to doze off. Ahead, in the middle of the road, is a box. Dad says, "Hey, want me to hit that box?" and he just kind of grunts and shrugs, then closes his eyes. A few seconds later, he wakes up because the rig is screaming to a stop, and his dad is yelling something while he jumps out. He, my friend, doesn't know what the hell is going on. He gets out his side of the cab and looks back down the road where his dad is running. His dad is chasing and yelling at two little kids. The box is kicked up sideways. The kids were in the damn box. He swerved around it at the last second because he felt weird about the box. It was 14 years ago he told me about this. I have never driven over a bag or a box since then. My family used to rent a house in town along with my aunt and uncle when I was very young that we eventually moved out of because of very strange things that happened while we lived there. But the most memorable and final straw was the night my aunt was using the toilet and just happened to look down at this small hole in the floor that had been there since we moved in and saw a man standing in the basement looking right back up at her smiling. My aunt ran out of the bathroom and screamed for my uncle. After explaining to him that there was a man in the basement, my uncle went and got my dad, and they both went down the stairs, the only entrance into the basement, where they found nothing but footprints in the dirty floor where someone had been standing and moving around under the hole. A man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the desk gave him his key and told him that on the way to his room, there was a door with no number that was locked and no one was allowed in there. Especially no one should look inside the room under any circumstances. So he followed the instructions of the woman at the front desk, going straight to his room and going to bed. The next night, his curiosity would not leave him alone about the room with no number on the door. He walked down the hall to the door and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. He bent down and looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, chilling his eye. What he saw was a hotel bedroom, like his, and in the corner was a woman whose skin was completely white. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. He stared in confusion for a while. He almost knocked on the door out of curiosity, but decided not to. This disinclination saved his life. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day, he returned to the door and looked through the wide keyhole. This time, all he saw was redness. He couldn't make anything out besides a distinct red color, unmoving. Perhaps the inhabitants of the room knew he was spying the night before and had blocked the keyhole with something red. At this point, he decided to consult the woman at the front desk for more information. She sighed and said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had, and she said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in that room, and her ghost haunts it. But these people were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes, which were red. My 4-year-old daughter was supposedly asleep when I heard noise coming from her upstairs bedroom. I tried to listen, but could not make out what was being said. I approached the room, and she stopped talking. Thinking I alarmed her, I went into the room. At the time, she was sharing it with her 3-year-old sister. I walked in and saw the 4-year-old sitting up in bed. I smiled and said, "Is everything okay?" She said fine, but her sister said they were keeping her up. I asked who. My 4-year-old said sorry, but that she was talking. When I asked her who she was talking to, my 3-year-old sat up and said, "The girl in the window, she said you were coming." After I shit a brick, I asked who the girl was, and they both said a girl comes and stands in front of the window at night and talks to them. Not knowing what to say, I said okay, tucked them in and hung around outside their door. The next day, I asked about the girl. They said she came back but was mad. I waited a few days and asked again. My 4-year-old said the girl in the window was still mad. I forgot about it for about a week when my wife said, "Who are the girls talking to upstairs?" Freaked out, I ran upstairs, and both girls were sitting under the window looking up. They turned and looked at me and asked if I wanted to meet the girl. When they turned around, disappointed, They said the girl left. It has been about 5 years since, and I have not heard about the girl in the window since then.